Welcome back to Restored into New. My name is Saran, and today we're going to build a wine box and shelves for this Butler's Pantry. This pantry was a last-minute thought to the builders. They just slapped some cabinets in here and called it a day. And this really should be a functional space for when you have dinner parties in your dining room. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a wine box in the center, and we're going to have some shelves coming off at the sides. We're going to swap out the pot light for a new fixture, and then also put in some under-mounting racks for the wine glasses to make it a really functional space. We're going to use some 1x12s for the box, some 2x12s for the shelves, and we've got to make sure we make it big enough so that it hits at least 2 studs, because wine bottles are heavy, and so we don't want this thing crashing down on anybody or breaking all of your wine bottles. So we got to make sure we hit a couple of studs so that it's nice and secure. Let's get started. Okay, here is the Butler's Pantry in the hallway off of the dining room. As you can see, it has a center main cabinet and 2 smaller cabinets on either side, and absolutely nothing above but a bare wall. And you can see where I mapped out the wine box and the shelves. And then at the top, the recessed light that we will swap out with a new fixture. Okay, we're going to get started with our cuts for this center wine box. It's going to be 33 inches long, so our top and bottom piece will be 33 inches, and our side pieces will be 31.5 inches because they'll be inset in between the top and bottom piece. My rule, measure twice, cut once. So even though I've measured, I'm going to measure one more time just to make sure I have 33 inches. And I do. So let's get started. All right, this is our bottom piece to our wine box, and this is our left side piece, and we want to mark where our pocket holes are going to go. So you want to line up the side piece to the bottom piece. And then make a mark where you want your pocket holes to go. I'm going to use 4 pocket holes on each side because I want it to be a really strong joint to hold those wine bottles. All right, let's make some pocket holes. And there's our first set of pocket holes. All right, let's do the other boards. Okay, now we have our pocket holes all drilled in the sides, on both sides. So now we can go ahead and start attaching them to the bottom base and then applying the top of the wine box, okay? We are going to use, along with the pocket holes, we're also going to use wood glue. And this stuff is strong, and it's going to just add some extra strength to this box to be able to hold all of those wine bottles. Apply a little bit on here. It can get a little messy, that's okay. You can always clean it up. Let's put some here where we're going to attach it. Okay, you want to get your side into place. Get some screws ready. For 3/4 inch plywood, you want to use a 1 1/4 inch screw. And if you're not sure of what size screw to use for the thickness of wood that you have, you can Google it and it'll tell you exactly the length of screw that you need. So for 3/4 inch plywood, we need 1 1/4 inch screw. You want to make sure it's nice and straight. All right, we've got one side done. Now let's do the other side. And our box is completed. So now we just need to put in the cross boards that'll help hold all the bottles. This size wine cube should be able to hold approximately 24 bottles. So let's get started on the cross boards. Okay, we're ready to start on our cross boards. To determine the length of the cross boards, you want to take a measuring tape and you want to measure from one corner to the opposite corner. And it looks like I've got a length of 44.5 inches. So what I like to do is just make it a tad bit longer than the 44.5 inches, and then I can always trim away a little bit to get it to fit properly. And then you want it to be a nice snug fit, and then you can just tap it in with a hammer. So let's get started. All right, we have our boards cut for the inside section of the wine box that are going to crisscross. So what we have to do now is we have to cut out a little divot in the center of each board so that they can fit into each other, and then they can both be lowered down into the box for a nice snug fit. So what I did was I used my clamps and I clamped both the boards together so that I can do one cut with my jigsaw instead of having to do two separate cuts. That way I know that they're both going to be in the exact same spot on both boards. So let me show you how to sketch this out. All right, the first thing you want to do is you want to find the exact center of your boards, and then you also want to find the center of the width. And that is where the edge of the board where you're going to draw it out is going to go. So once you find that spot, you want to place the board down, because the width here of the board, of this spare piece of board, is exactly the width that you need for the boards to fit into each other. And you want to have a square so that you make sure that everything is nice and even. Once you line that up and make sure that your board is nice and square, then you go ahead and you trace out the thickness of the board on both sides. And when you get done, you have the exact size cutout that you need for your jigsaw so that the boards fit perfectly snug together in a crisscross formation. All right, we're ready to make our notches for the X shelf. Okay, we found our center of the board and we etched out where the notch is going to go. Okay, remember you want to only cut in halfway into the board. Okay, when you're making the notch, and you want the width to be the same width as the plywood that you're using. Okay, we're going to use a jigsaw to make our cut. All right, our notch is made. Let's go ahead and put the X shelf together. All right, let's go ahead and put our two boards together. Perfect. Didn't even need my hammer. All right, let's go ahead and get it inside the frame. Perfect fit. If you have any trouble getting the X box into the frame, you can chisel off some pieces off of the ends to try to get it to fit so you have a nice snug fit. Okay, we have finished the wine box, and I added a little bit of glue at each of the corners and at the cross point just to give it a little bit more reinforcement. It was a good snug fit, but just to be on the safe side, I add a little bit of glue in all the corners just to make sure that it's going to be sound and safe for the bottoms. At this point, you can stain the wood, you can paint the wood, whatever you want to do. You can leave it on a counter. With this size, I would recommend putting it on the wall, mounting it like I'm going to do. So that's what we're going to do. In the next video, we're going to mount it up on the wall, and then we're going to add the shelves that are going to come off of either side to finish off our Butler's Pantry.